Scoring offense. Notre Dame scoring offense and scoring defense against the Purdue scoring offense. And now this comes down to total points per game, but then things that factor into it: yards per play, red zone success, third down, and turnovers. And that's kind of where we came from this, Vince. So why don't you kick things off? Because obviously the numbers, if we're just looking at numbers, without any context in regards to who they've played or anything like that, the numbers obviously look good for Purdue in this matchup.
Oh, no question. I mean, look, Notre Dame's ranked 111th in points per game. I mean, they're giving up too many points, and I don't think anybody would disagree with that after watching Notre Dame
way
play.
To spin that in a positive way.
They're giving up too many points. There's no way to spin it, and they're giving up too many yards. I mean, they're averaging almost 400 yards a game giving up, and that's 88th in the country, and that's where they belong. I mean, that's because of that number. That's not where I think that they are going to end up, but they are giving up too many points. And I'd love to see a breakdown, to be honest with you, what that looks like in the fourth quarter versus the rest of the game in the first two games, because I guarantee you the majority of those yards and points, because we know that they've scored 31 points in the fourth quarter over the first two games, I believe. I mean, come on, that's too many, right? That's just too many. So I don't like those numbers, but I think that those are going to improve. You go to the other side, you look at Purdue, they're averaging almost 500 yards a game. That puts them 30th in the country. That's pretty darn good. They can score. They're averaging almost 40 yards or 40 points per game, which is what we want Notre Dame to be offensively, right? So that's pretty darn good. It's red zone that worries me a little bit as of right now. Again, no context, but teams are scoring 7 out of 8 times. Now here's the number for Notre Dame. They've only allowed 4 touchdowns, which is good. That's 50%.
And it'd have been less than that if they, just a couple little things they got to get better at. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're kicking field goals, okay, which is good. I just don't like them getting down in the red zone quite as much. But Purdue scoring 7 out of 9 times, they're scoring touchdowns when they're in the red zone. That's a pretty good percentage. That's almost 80%.
8 red zone trips allowed in 2 games is a high number.
It is. Too many times in the red zone. And it's because of those big plays, right? Those 4 plays over 60 yards, that gets them into the red zone because
because two of them went for scores and 2 of them got them down in scoring territory.
Exactly.
Neither of Toledo's went for scores.
Yes.
But they set up scores, a field goal and then a touchdown.
And
then the 2 from Florida State obviously were direct touchdowns.
Yeah, but too many big plays. We've talked about that, and too many times in the red zone. When your back's up against the your own end zone, things are bad things are going to happen generally, right? Bad things are going to happen. So got to keep Purdue out of the red zone. They've got to do a better job of that, and they've got to limit the opportunities down there. Now, I think Notre Dame's third down defense is not what you would hope it would be, because I think there's been some breakdowns in the passing game over the first 2 games, which I didn't like. Some of those went Kyle Hamilton's way. He's allowing too much. We need to see a better game from Kyle Hamilton. I think that's part of that, to be perfectly honest with you. And third down offense is actually not as good as I thought it was going to be, looking at the numbers here for Purdue, but it still ranks 16th in the country. So they're still doing okay.
Now, the third down defense is a little bit – it's not good, but that number in a normal played-out season would get you in the top 50.
Yeah, okay.
But, again, because there's a lot of teams that have played FCS opponents and things like that, you're going to have some of those numbers that are a little bit misleading, in my opinion. But still not good. Yeah. So to me, Vince, when I look at this, this matchup for me is about big plays. If you take away the 4 plays of 60 plus yards on all the other 133 plays, Notre Dame's would be, if you just took those plays out, they'd be giving up 256 yards per game.
It's a big difference.
Yeah.
Huge difference.
Huge difference. So that's really what it comes down to. Is I don't think when they play and this is the other thing, Marcus Freeman has to keep the pedal to the metal with this defense. And I think he's so concerned about the big play. This is just me reading between the lines, me evaluating. I haven't talked to anybody about this. I think he's so concerned about the big play that when they get a lead, I think he's worried about relenting that lead with a big play. And that's when they get passive, and that's when the opposing team goes right down the field and scores.
See, this team needs to play with a fire.
Right.
This team is built around playing with a fire, playing with an aggression. Yeah, exactly. That's how this team is built. They're not built to sit back and keep everything in front of them. That was Bob Diaco's defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were built to kind of –
that was Clark Lee's defense.
Yeah, keep everything in front, no big plays, things like that. That's not how this defense is put together, in my opinion. They need to be making plays. They need to be their hair on fire. That's how this defense needs to play.
Right. And I think the thing that they need to do in this regards is that when they do go to sort of we do have a couple touchdown lead. We're not going to still keep the 4 down front. 2 games in a row, he's gone to 3 down fronts in the second half in these instances, and it hasn't paid off, in my opinion. Stick with the 4 down front. Stick with an attacking 4 down front. If you want to back off coverages and make them go on a long drive, I kind of understand it. But look, be who you are. This team is still trying to figure out who it is defensively. You want to do a little bit differently in game 10 when they know the defense better, that's fine.
Sure.
But I think you need to really instill a mentality of this team. And this is something I think Brian Kelly as the head coach has failed at. And then the coordinators in turn have kind of it's bled down to them. And with Marcus Freeman, it's been an even bigger issue on offenses. This team has yet to learn how to put a team away. It is shown it can come from behind, or it can get rid of all the momentum Florida State had and make enough plays to win. But this team has to learn how to bury a team. And they've had chances in each of the last 2 games to really put these teams away. And that's the thing about that we're missing is, look, Notre Dame was up on Florida State 38-20 and had a chance to put them away. And they went away from what got them up 38-20. They go up 24-16 against Purdue. You got a chance to put them away. And what happens? You kind of go away from what was working for you. You make a mistake, and then bam, 67-yard run, and it sets them up for a score. You've got to stick with what got you there. Until this team learns how to put a team away, you can't take your foot off the gas. And this game has to be an example of that. They have to be aggressive from start to finish. If you're up 30 on Purdue, and I'm not saying I'm anticipating that, I'm making a point, okay? If you're up on 30 on Purdue and you feel the need to put your backups in the game, fine, put your backups in the game, but let them loose. I'm not saying blitz 6 guys, but turn your ends loose. If you're going to put Alexander Ahrensberger in the game and it's late in the game, or you're going to put Gabriel Rubio in the game or Aiden Count in the game, some of those younger guys that hopefully can get a chance to get some snaps here soon, turn them loose, right? If you're going to put Ryan Barnes and Philip Riley in the game in the fourth quarter, let them play cover 1. Let them run the defense. Because you're still trying to instill a mentality of being able to finish. And so far, the defense has been really good in the first 3 quarters, with the exception of 3 plays, right? The 2 touchdowns against Florida State and the long pass on the opening drive against Toledo. Take that away, and Notre Dame has been absolutely dominant in the first 3 quarters of games. Because remember, Toledo had 16 points going into the fourth quarter. 7 of them were all pick 6 by the offense. And another 3 points were set up by a fumble that gave Toledo the ball near midfield. You dominated Toledo outside of 1 play until the fourth quarter. You gave up 2 scoring drives. The same thing against Florida State. Outside of 2 plays, you were dominating Florida State at the point of attack. Dominating. And those big plays got to get cleaned up. But you were dominating. Then you went away in the third quarter. You went away from what got you there. Because that fourth quarter touchdown drive that Florida State had started in the third quarter. That's the key. Finish. If this defense knew how to finish, we're worried about the line, but we're feeling a lot better about this team. Because neither one of these 2 games would have been competitive in the fourth quarter.
I agree.
The defense has to finish. You can't blame that on the offense. You can't blame that on the offensive line, especially that's on you. And that's the next thing that Coach Freeman's going to have to get from this group is we've got to learn how to finish. When we've got a team on the ropes, we've got to go for the knockout punch. And that's what I want to see on Saturday against Purdue.
Yeah, because look, this team is still scoring points. Notre Dame is still scoring. So if the defense can hold teams out of the end zone and they can finish games, then it's going to be a moot point, right? At least for now. And it allows the offensive line to then get better, right? But if the defense is going to allow the points, if they're going to allow 33.5 points a game, then this is going to be this is going to be a conversation we're going to continue to have.
It's really 30 on the defense, just to be
fair enough.
But still, that's way too much.
It's way too much.
Right.
Way too much.
I just wanted to be accurate that because of the pick six, they're only giving up 30 on defense, but 30 is still really freaking bad.
That's terrible.
Right.
That's terrible. And again, I think that the offense can score more than that, but you're playing with fire. You're playing with fire when you do that. So
and this is the kind of team, in my opinion, that's good enough on offense to make you really pay if you're not playing your game. If you're giving up the big plays because you're undisciplined or you're playing bad technique or you're not putting a team away in the fourth quarter, it almost cost you against Florida State. It almost cost you against Toledo, but it didn't. You got the W. This begins the stretch of games where that will cost you a win or a loss. It just will.
Yeah.
So it needs to happen now. Like, you've got your two kind of warm up games under your belt, right? Now it's time to really turn it up and close, because Purdue is good enough, Vince. Unlike Toledo, Purdue is good enough to beat them, because Purdue has the individual players on defense at a couple spots to say, hey, look, in the fourth quarter, they have dudes that can make stops. Toledo couldn't. Then, once Notre Dame stopped shooting themselves in the foot in the fourth quarter, they just went down and scored a couple times. Purdue has a guy in George Karlaftis in the corner and Corey Trice and some guys that can say, hey, look, you're not going to do that to us. Right. But the defense has to play their role, in my opinion. And I think they can. It's just we need to see it. Right. So at the end of the day, I go right now. I go advantage Notre Dame in almost every category. Line, I think overall still better skill. It's just I'm going to go Purdue in regards to Purdue has been a better second half team, in my opinion. Purdue didn't move the ball real well against Oregon State early. The second half is when they turn loose. That edge to Purdue. So I'm kind of back and forth. At the end of the day, I'm calling this an even matchup. I'm not giving the advantage to either team. I'm calling this an even matchup. Notre Dame has the better players. Purdue, to me, has the matchup that concerns me. And when you look at what they do well compared to what Notre Dame has been having misses on, that makes me concerned. And I can't believe we're having this conversation in the third week of the season, but we are. To me, this is an even matchup, because Purdue has legitimate NFL players at a couple spots on offense. Toledo did not. Toledo had some really good college football players. Purdue has legitimate NFL players at a couple spots, and that's what makes this a more concerning matchup. You've got to you've got to have a better performance, especially in the fourth quarter this week. How about you, Vince?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, and I understand the Jeff Brom factor worries me when it comes to the defense, because I think he's always going to be making changes, and he's always going to be adapting to what Marcus Freeman is going to be doing defensively. I see Notre Dame being dominant early, but it's the second half that worries me as well, because they haven't finished a game yet. But having said that, I still believe that this defense is improving week to week.
Mm-hmm.
And they got better. They got better week 1 to week 2. And I believe that they're going to continue to get better week 2 to week 3. And because I believe that, and we still don't know about Botelho and whether he's going to be available. If he is, this pushes it way over the top for me to Notre Dame, because I think that he brings an element that they're missing right now. You can keep Foskey on the line. You don't have to have him at linebacker depth. Botelho is going to pin his ears back and just rush the quarterback. I mean, he brings something that Notre Dame doesn't have right now. So if he's back, I feel real confident that Notre Dame has the advantage here. But I'm still giving them the slight advantage, even if he's not available, just because they have the better personnel. I believe they're going to get better in week 3. Jeff Brom scares me, and the Bell kid scares me. And if Notre Dame can't get pressure on the quarterback, then the quarterback scares me too. But I think that they're going to be able to do that. And no matter what the scheme is, I still think Notre Dame is going to win this matchup.
Okay, so no. That's tomorrow's show.
Win this matchup. I misspoke. But I give them the slight edge. I see where you're coming from with even, but I give Notre Dame the edge.
I think the thing here is, Vince, and this is totally fine. We're looking at it from two different standpoints. You're projecting forward what you think they're going to do, which is fine. And sure. I'm looking at I'm making my evaluation based on what we've seen. Right? That's the difference.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And that's fine. That's why we don't necessarily determine how specific. Okay, this is Vince. This is what you're making a decision off of. I give you that freedom for a reason because I think it makes for a more interesting show that we look at it differently.
Right.
And everyone's always saying you guys agree too much. Well, now we're not. But I think it just depends on how you look at it, or if you're projecting forward based on, like you said, because I think you made a great point. If you take the natural progression of what they did from week 1 to week 2 and then apply a similar jump from week 2 to week 3, then you're correct. I'm not ready to do that yet because I think this is a better team than what they faced last week offensively, at least at the skill positions and as a coordinator. And that's not to take anything away from the Coach Weiner or Mike Hallett at Toledo, because I thought they called a great game last week on offense. I do. I just say I need to see Notre Dame do it. That's my thing. If they do what you say they're going to do, and they make those improvements, then yes, I think this is a matchup Notre Dame will win. But I look at it more from what they are going into the game, and that's why I give the edge to Purdue. You're projecting forward.
Yeah.
That's why you give the edge to Notre Dame. Totally makes sense, and I don't disagree with you on that. If they do make again, not a big leap, just a similar size leap from 2 to 3 that they did in week 1 to 2, yeah, I think they'll win this matchup. But now, how will the game play out? We'll discuss that tomorrow.
Yes, we will.
In tomorrow's show. So that's going to do it for today's show. I know there was a lot of great questions in there today, and we obviously couldn't get to them. As we said at the first week, the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday shows are going to be more of just the podcast, and then we'll do Q&A on Monday and Friday. I also have some family stuff that I'm dealing with today, so I don't have time to hang around and answer questions as much as I'd love to, because I saw a couple of them in there, and there's some really, really good questions. But, hey, this is one of the nice things about us having a message board, right, Vince? And if
Absolutely.
you go down here to boards.irishbreakdown.com, you can sign up for our premium message board. I will be able to sneak in there today throughout the day to answer questions and talk and discuss some of those things. And we'll be back tomorrow to do our game prediction. Will be tomorrow. And then, of course, Friday, we'll do all Q&A. And I promise you I'll make up for not being able to answer questions the last couple of days on Friday. So
absolutely.
Appreciate y'all being with us. For Vince, I'm Bryan. Have yourselves a great rest of your day. Hopefully we'll see you on the boards. Hit like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we will see you again tomorrow. Have an awesome day.